Peace and blessings. So my name is Carlos Walker, and this is Forward Progress. And who we got with us today is Mr. Kevin Bobbitt. How you doing, Mr. Bobbitt?
I'm doing fine, brother. Peace. Another saw. A
Man, look,
BB-448.
brother Asar. So
Yes.
before we start, I want you to share a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do, and then what we're gonna do. We're gonna go into the interview.
Another saw. A BB-448. African liberation. Black liberation. African power. Black power. For every black man, woman, and child on the planet. We are the original people. I am the original man. I am a son of Africa. I'm Brother Asar. I'm the founder and CEO of KCSSU, Comedic Cultural Science and System of Unity. And what we are doing is educating the youth and educating the community on the knowledge of self, African liberation, black liberation, and the importance of unified understanding our culture, our true original culture, and who we are as a people and our contributions to the world and what we must do in order to reclaim the throne that we were created to sit upon.
So now what we'll talk a little bit about your past before. Matter of fact, how long did you do in prison?
I did 9 years and 2 months.
Okay. So what we'll do now is go before you went to prison and share a little bit about who you were before. Then we'll talk about prison itself and who you became there, and then who you are now. So tell me a little bit about your background before you went to prison.
Yes, indeed. Basically, my birth name given by my mother and father was Kevin Dale Bobbitt. I was born January 21st, 1965 in Raleigh, North Carolina. At the time, my mother and father, they had got married in 1961. Coming out of high school, my father, he joined the Air Force and was stationed out in California, where my older brother was born in 1962 and my older sister, in 1963. So I was the third child of a young family. And then my mother had a fourth child, my little sister Regina, born in 1969. So we had an incredible family structure. And I thought as a child that, we had the greatest family in the world, six. And, so my father, he was stationed. They came back to North Carolina for me to be born. He was in Canada because they thought if I was born in Canada, I would be a Canadian citizen. Because remember, they was young at the time, 21 and 22 with their third child. So then after Canada, my father was stationed in Massachusetts where I started Head Start. Then basically we came back to North Carolina for a year where I started kindergarten. So then my father was stationed in Hawaii. And so my education was pretty good because my mother, she worked with us at home. She was a stay-at-home mother with the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, just the basic fundamentals. And when I started school in Hawaii, I went first, second, and third grade. First, I went to Pearl City Elementary, Miss Lai. Second, which she was Japanese. My second grade teacher was Miss Yamada. She was Japanese. And my third grade teacher was Miss Uchiyama, and she was Japanese and Hawaiian. And my classroom, it was always full of Hawaiians, Samoans, Filipinos, a few blacks sprinkled in, and maybe one or two whites. So it was what people consider today as being diverse, but it was something that was considered normal to us as children. So I was able to kind of flourish early in school as far as, learning and everything. And then my father, he had got in a little trouble, you know, um, and had to go to prison. So we came back to North Carolina with me entering the fourth grade. And when I entered the classroom in the fourth grade, it was like a culture shock to me because I didn't see anything but a bunch of white students and maybe about 4 or 5 blacks, no Hawaiians, no Samoans, no Filipinos. So it was kind of new. And then, and like I said, I was pretty smart. So I would always do well, when we would have our lessons. And then we did a lot of speed lessons back then as far as dealing with math, a lot of spelling, and was really doing well. But then I started getting in trouble. in school and going to the office. And then one of the things that I always remember is during social studies, and they went to teaching us about slavery. And this was the first I had ever heard of slavery was when we got back to North Carolina. And I was like, well, why were we slaves? And the teacher could never answer that. So, I'm so young at the time that, it really never kind of crossed my mind after that because, we got along, everybody, the children, the black children, the white children, play together as you do in elementary. But things start to change once, you get to middle school, you get to high school, people start going their own separate ways and you start noticing more things. So my education was pretty good. I started playing football, which was something that I really loved and was pretty good at because, like I say, I started school in Hawaii. And in Hawaii, the sports are football and baseball that everybody focuses on. So we played football every day. So I was able to excel in football at an early age all the way through high school and even had a 4-year scholarship to South Carolina State. But I had, like I say, I had started getting in trouble. I had what they had considered an attitude problem, a behavior problem, going to the office, nothing ever really malicious, but just basically a young black man that was kind of confident in his abilities, but didn't understand the structure of the world and how it affected us as people. So when I got put out of school, I said, well, I got to do something with my life. Young man, 18, I had failed the year before my senior year when I had got the full scholarship to South Carolina State. So I had to go back to school to try to graduate, but I got in trouble. I got expelled. And so then I end up that summer deciding to join the United States Marine Corps. And I went to the Marine Corps at the age of 19 in 1984. And, it was a really good experience as far as boot camp and understanding the energy, effort, and focus when it comes to training for the defense of this country and how they pour, billions, probably trillions of dollars, into the defense of this country. And one of the main things that got me early was when they in boot camp when they told all of us that we were expendable. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm 19 years old. Why am I expendable when I haven't even, experienced life? So, I graduated from boot camp. I got back with my high school sweetheart, Felicia, and me and Felicia, we ended up getting married when I was in the Marine Corps, 1985, young, 20. She was 18, just graduated. And I started getting in some trouble in the Marines when I was at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, with a sergeant because, he tried to pull rank on me, but we were students learning FDC fire control, fire direction control center in the Marine Corps, which is field artillery. And you had to be good at math because we did met weather reports and everything. We had to do the range, deflection, and everything for the guns to put on for when we fired down range. So it was a lot of math involved, and I enjoyed it. So when I got in trouble there, got Article 15, went to Camp Lejeune, which was my duty station. I was glad about that because I can drive back and forth or catch a ride back and forth to Raleigh, to see my family, see Felicia. And I got in a fight with a corporal who pushed me. And I kind of got the best of them. And so they court-martialed me. And I hadn't been at Camp Lejeune 3 months. And I was supposed to be going to Felicia graduation. They court-martialed me. So they put me in the brig. And they put a label on me, for defending myself. So I started getting in trouble. Did 30 days, got out, went to a field unit, which was good because we got a chance to get out in the field. I met some really great brothers in the Marine Corps, strong brothers, intelligent from all over, the South, the West, all over the United States, and we bonded really well. And so Felicia got pregnant, and we ended up having to go overseas on the float, and we lost our first child but we got married, lost our first child, went overseas for 6 months. And when I got back, I had got in about 3 fights on the ship and a couple of court martials, and they got mad at me. They called me every name in the book, and I let them. And after they finished, I told them what I thought about them, and I know they wanted to throw me overboard, but they knew they were going with me because I was at the time 20 years old, and 21 years old, young and strong, and vetted. And so they didn't really attack me in that manner. So when we got back, they asked me, did I want to get out of the Marine Corps or stay in? And I was like, I want to get out. Felicia got pregnant again. We got back on her birthday, June 3rd, 1986. Matter of fact, she was just turning, wow, 19 years old, right? And I'm 21 at the time. So she got pregnant again. I got out the Marine Corps. We lost our second child. We lost the first child in 1985. We lost the second child in 1986. And so she was very distraught. I had got out of the Marine Corps. So, she moved out of her mother's house. I moved out of my mama's house. I hadn't been home 2 or 3 months. We had our first apartment, just a young couple. We weren't a family at the time because we didn't have no children. So we're a young couple. This is 1986. I'm working with a father. That didn't work out. I'm working, and the jobs ain't working out. So, basically me and some of my old friends, we did what we did when we was younger, when we wanted money. We went and we got the money. When we was younger, we would hit video machines and stuff, but we were grown men now. So basically what we was doing was, getting safes and things of that nature, making, money. 1987, I got knocked off. We was in Greenville, North Carolina, in Pitt County, and the alarm went off. We was on the inside, and when we come out, the police are right out there. So, but we fast, right? Me and my one of my good friends, and so we take off and we running. And I learned the lesson. I stopped and I hid, and he kept running. The police went by me, but they came back with the flashlights, and I was in the bushes, and they threatened to kill me, do everything. And I told them, y'all ain't gonna do nothing. They took me to jail, questioned me. I said, well, I ain't know nothing, all this stuff. So I ended up getting a prison sentence. I got out on bond, and about 4 months after that, I had to go to court. They sentenced me to 4 years, and this was in 1987 when they had the old law, which they called the 1/8 law. So out of 4 years, I didn't have to do but 5 months.
Okay.
So when I got out after the 5 months, Felicia held up. When I came home in 1988, after doing 5 months on a 4 year sentence, Felicia immediately got pregnant, and we had our first child, Jasmine Bobby, in 1989. So we were very ecstatic about that. Young family, and I got out of prison, and I had got a couple of jobs that didn't work out. And so at the time when Jasmine was born, I had started hustling, selling cocaine, with some of my neighborhood friends. It was going, pretty good, fast, easy money. I'm young at the time, 24. So I thinking this is the lifestyle, not understanding the harm I'm doing to myself, my family.
If you can speak up just a little bit.
Excuse me?
If you can, you might have to come forward a little bit
Okay,
just so you can.
yes. Okay. All right. So anyway, that was in 1989 when my daughter was born. In 1990, my son was born, but it was complications. He had one kidney, and he was a preemie. He was born after she was just like 6.5 months pregnant. So we had already lost 2 children through her pregnancies, and then he had an illness. And so then after that, like I say, I was out in the streets hustling. Then I started using drugs, getting high, and it started basically making my family disintegrate as far as my relationship with Felicia, and fell into some financial difficulties. A young man, 27 years old. Me and my wife split up, divorced, and so then basically I ended up getting in trouble again, going back to prison for a short period of time in 1993. As a matter of fact, twice in 1993. And then I got locked up again in 1996. Got out in 1997 on state, and just in and out of jail for petty charges, assaults, basically selling cocaine, in and out of jail. And so in 2001, I met my second wife, and I was still out there, basically, using drugs and selling them. And we got married in 2003, and then we got stopped in the car. She was driving, wasn't my car, and they found a gun in the car, and they put the gun on me. I was 38 at the time. It wasn't my gun. Never seen the gun. The federal system picked it up. Department of Justice, Eastern District, North Carolina, and they charged me with a 924C, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. And basically, they tried to get me to do like they tried to get everybody else to do, to tell on people. And I definitely wasn't with that, because as a young man, when I first started, doing, criminal activities at a very young age, it was a code that, never tell on anybody. And, I stuck to that, of course. And by me, it not being my gun, I said, I'm going to take it to trial. And I went to trial and lost. And they gave me the maximum, 120 months. They wanted to give me the armed career criminal, which is 15 to life. But my background, even though it was kind of extensive, it was a lot of misdemeanors. It wasn't any violent felonies or what they consider crimes of violence. So they couldn't give me that. So the maximum they could give me was 120 months, 10 years, and that's exactly what they gave me. I was 38 years old in 2003,
All
and
right,
I got
right
out in
here.
2013.
You're married for the second time. Uh, you're locked up. Let me ask you, how did you feel? Because I know it's a bunch of emotions. You're about to leave your wife. You just got 120 months. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this.
Oh my goodness, it was incredible because she was there with me every step of the way, because we had only been married for 8 months.
Mm.
And she was there with me every step of the way, as well as my mother and my father. Federal court is something else, totally different than state. You got the whole United States government against you. And when she had to go see the investigator that was supposed to be investigating on my head, and my attorney, public defender, she said when she saw that notebook and it said the United States of America versus Kevin Bobby, she just broke down crying, right? Because here it is, the whole country was against her husband. So when I found out that they couldn't give me but 120 months, I said, I'm not going to admit and say I'm guilty to something that I'm not guilty for, just to get a lesser sentence. It would have been cut by 3 years. It would have been, I think, like 76 months. So I said, I'm going to go to trial. And that's exactly what I did. I went to trial, and I lost. And they gave me the maximum, 120 months.
What was the emotion?
Excuse me? Oh, it was
Well,
basically, and that's a really great question, brother, because it's the separation. And, once I got to prison and started studying and learning about basically how they enslaved our ancestors and how they would split the families up, it was like that. Because she let out a scream when they found me guilty that I'll never forget, and I just immediately dropped my head on the table. But then, just as soon as I dropped my head on the table, something in me clicked and said, hold your head up, right? And I picked my head back up because I knew, okay, only thing you got to do is live through it. And
mm,
that's exactly what I did.
okay,
So it
so
was like a family being split up that just had came together.
okay, so now you're in prison. Um, Tell me a little bit about this situation, what you went through, some of the things, especially in the first years.
Yes, indeed. It was really, when I first got locked up, the first thing that I said was, now I can get off drugs. And that's
Mm.
exactly what I did, because I had a heroin addiction. I was snorting heroin and smoking woolies, which is marijuana and crack. And every morning when I was out in the streets and I would wake up, I would be like, SHIT, here I go again. Because I knew it was something that was better within me than to want to get high every day. So when I got locked up, the first thing I said was, now I can get off drugs. I was dope sick, and they didn't have any medicine, to deal with it. So I just had to go through the pain and everything for like a week. But once I got, clean, it took about a week and a half, I felt better. And I knew that I would never return to that life again. and I say to myself, I got to live through it. So in the early days, basically my life had consisted of athletics. We thought that that was the most important thing in the community. Who was the fastest, the strongest, the best in football, basketball, competition, because that's how we saw ourselves as being able to survive and make it, or criminal activity, which was what we did when we weren't playing sports. So I knew I wanted to do something better. I remember I was in the county and I saw a pastor on TV and he was just talking. And I said, well, wow, he's doing good things. But I knew that that really wasn't what I wanted to do. And so I was just, reading different literature and everything, but nothing really catching my attention. So, I was at the time, now I had turned 39, 40, I'm getting older. I'm not as fast as I used to be. Can't play ball like I used to be. So I'm watching more. And I'm reading the same books I read when I was in the military, just westerns and novels, and this is for like the first 3 years that I'm locked up. Once I had went through the county, and then I'm in Bennettsville, South Carolina, FDC, Federal Correctional Institution, and after I was there, I hadn't even been there 2 years. It was a brother. We both know a brother, a mutual friend, right? Because like I'm saying, I'm just going to the gym, watching basketball, stuff like that, reading books. And I've been locked up. Like at this point, I had been locked up for over 3 years, but I had been in Benetfield. I hadn't been there quite 2 years. And we was in the laundry room, and the brother said to me, he said, man, he said, what you do all day besides, play the board games? I had learned how to play chess in the county, and play basketball and stuff like that. And, at the time, I'm like 40. I just turned 42. And I said to him, I do what the F I want to do. I'm a grown man. But see, this was my next door neighbor, right? And he was a good brother. And I'm thinking to myself, why the brother coming at me like that? And so, being from the street, when somebody approach you in a certain way, you respond in a certain way. And he said, no, he said, why don't you do something more, than play board games, basketball? Why don't you do something to help your family? Why don't you do something to help yourself? And I repeated to him, because I do what the F I want to do. So that night, when I'm in my vet and I'm thinking about it, I said, he right. Why don't I do something to help myself? And he had recommended a book for me to read. So the next morning I went up to him and I said, Exodus, what's the name of that book you said? He said, The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. And I went to the library and the book was there, The Miseducation of the Negro. And when I read the book, I was reading the book and I'm like, wow. I said, they really have tricked me throughout my life, and along with a lot of other people. But I really didn't get mad the way people would get mad. But I said to myself, I have to do something to change the way I think, because I've been miseducated, so that I can help myself, help my family get out, help the community, and help make this world a better place. So I started studying. I read The Miseducation of the Negro. So after that, I was on fire. I went looking for another book. I couldn't find it. I
Hold
had
up
to
real
find.
quick. Hold up real quick. Before we go too far, being that you brought Carter G. Woodson's name up, and being that this is Black History Month, I want to
Yes,
shout out to Carter G. Woodson
yes,
for
indeed.
creating Black History Week, which which was the beginning of Black History Month. So
Yes.
if anybody will, y'all please go watch that, go read that book, The Miseducation of the Negro. But go ahead. The second
So
book.
after I read that book, I'm on fire. I went to get another book that wasn't there. So I got the book, The Message to the Black Man by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad,
Come
Nation of
on.
Islam, right? And so I'm reading this book and I'm like, wow. I said, he really loved black people. And I said to myself, well, I love black people like that, right? And before I was halfway through the book, I was at the brother's table in the chow hall, the Nation of Islam, wanting to sign up, right? And so I wasn't even through with the book, The Message to the Black. I signed up in the Nation of Islam, and I started studying with the brothers and learning. And they had the lessons, the 120, the supreme lessons and everything. And I had a young brother that's from Raleigh, brother Intel with the 5%ers. And he was helping me out, right? And when he saw my ability to learn and retain information, he would be like, go learn these five. And the next morning I come, I spit it out. Who is the original man? The original man. Who is the devil? The devil is the white man, all the way down. So I learned the 120 in less than 2 weeks. And so in the Nation of Islam, basically, they want you to, when you learn the lessons, recite them. And sometimes it take a long time to learn the lessons, and I ain't learned it. So I got halfway through, and the minister at the time, he said, okay, that's enough. You can start. I said, no, I want to do them all. Right? And so they looked at me a certain type of way, and I did it. I recited them all. And so, I was the first one that would be at the chapel to help set up. I love the Nation of Islam, and so I wanted to do a kufa. That's when you teach. And so basically I started studying and preparing myself, to try to, be able to deliver a message, studying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, just, studying, reading the books, The Message to the Black Man, Our Savior Has Arrived, The Fall of America, and some books that the Honorable Minister. So I'm learning fast, and I'm loving it, and I'm loving the discipline and everything. And I had kind of got in a little trouble. We had an event, because, we had events at, it was some great events with all the different spiritual communities, religious communities getting together, really good brotherhood. And I delivered a message, and I said that the white man, and I said the white man is the devil, because that's what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said. And they called me to the lieutenant's office the following week, and basically they had instructed the student minister at the time to not let me speak for like 3 months, and they were just really trying to question me and get in my head and see where I was at with it, because they record everything, and I was saying the white man was the devil. So anyway, things kind of got a little. I was studying the Nation of Islam, and it felt like I was kind of like I was being held back, because it was like it was only a certain paradigm and concepts that they wanted us to basically embrace. And I really believe in the expansion of consciousness and spirit and spirituality. So I'm not trying to be boxed in any type of way as far as indoctrination. So I was in the Nation, and I started studying everything. I was studying the Quran, studying the Bible, Krishna consciousness, Buddha, Hebrew Israelite, Rastafarian, More Science Temple of America, the Kabbalah, just all the different Hinduism, all the different religious and spiritual systems, and they were all beautiful, and it seemed like they all had a common theme as trying to help whichever area on the planet they was in with instructions, divine instructions. And so anyway, I'm still in the Nation, but I'm studying everything. And one night I'm at the chapel, and I'm listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and it's a brother that's he's in the Jewish community, and he asked me, he was mixed, I forgot exactly his nationality, to come and watch a video with him, because he came to one of our cool bars. So I said, okay. So I kind of put the video on pause. I went in there. He was watching a video called The Secret by Anthony Browder, and it come to find out that the secret was that when they was talking about Egypt, that these were black people, Africans. So I told her, I said, hold on 1 second, put it on pause. I went in there, and I gave the clerk at the chapel the video I was watching. I went in and finished watching the video with him, and it was magnificent. They was talking about Maya, divine love, peace, unity, order, balance, harmony, reciprocity, how we was the original people. And so I was like really intrigued by what I was hearing. So when I got back to the unit, it was a brother from Florida named Hollywood that studied Kemetic spirituality and Kemetic philosophy. And I had asked him before, because remember, I was studying all the different religions, if I could look at one of his books He said, no, you're not into this. You're into something else. I was in the Nation of Islam. But he didn't know I was just, searching. And
Searching.
so that night, when I got in, I walked up to him and I said, brother, I said, Hollywood, can I read one of your books? And he said it was something in my eye because another brother had the book. He said, hold on. He went and got the book. It was by Ra'un Nefer Amen, The Introduction to Kemetic Philosophy, Cosmologics, 43 pages. I read that book that night and I decided I'm going home to Africa to Kemetic, and that's when I started studying Kemetic philosophy and Kemetic spirituality.
So, right here, sitting in prison, you found yourself by going on a search or going on a journey,
Yes, indeed.
looking for spirituality. And it gave you a different change, a mindset that to want to be the best version of you that you could be. That's from going through the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad,
Yes,
from listening to Farrakhan, from building with brothers from all different sects of life,
yes,
but mainly for you looking and searching from within, saying, look, I'm going, yes, take all this information and look at all of these different religions and understand that they're all working to combine to figure out something.
yes,
And I'm
indeed.
going to be the best version of me for everybody else. So, tell me some of the things that you started doing sitting in prison to help the community from which you was at, because X was one of the people who came to you and enlightened you. So now, how did you start enlightening other brothers where you was at? Because then we're gonna shift to when you came here.
Indeed, yes. I mean, it's like once because I was talking to a lot of people when I was in the Nation of Islam, and it was kind of surprising me the way brothers would come up to me and ask me different questions, advice, and stuff. But once I became comedic and learned the knowledge of self, things really started to change. One of my good friends I grew up with from the same neighborhood, the same street, and everything. He was there, Brother G. Gary, and he said use the same word you use because he already had the knowledge of self. We was walking around the track, and I told him about our study. He said, "Oh, you about to go on a journey," and that's exactly what it has been, and it still is a journey, and it's a journey for liberation. And so I started participating in events, speaking. We will build down at the on the yard in the gym. I'm talking about we have Rastafarians, Christians, Muslims, Kemetic, Hebrew Israelites, and it would be good conversation. Sometimes it would be debates, but it was a brotherhood. It was a strong brotherhood where we really encouraged one another, and so it was really powerful, and I really enjoyed it, and I have to give a big shout out to my two admin assistants, Linda Darton and my good friend Linda Darton, and my first wife Felicia Mitchell, who basically were helping me out at the time because I had decided I want to start a nonprofit organization when I get out. And I came up with the name Kemetic Cultural. I was trying to decide whether to name it Kemetic Cultural Science of Unity or Kemetic Cultural System of Unity. So my cellmate, a brother, young brother from Gastonia, North Carolina, called him Big Ken. He said, "Why don't you name it both?" And I said, "Well, I said you're right. You're smart. It's good. Kemetic Cultural Science and System of Unity." So Linda and Felicia, they started helping me out. I would write stuff out and I would send it to them. They type it up and send it back. My brother, he was sending me all the books from the beginning. My older brother, Dwayne, he would send me the metadata. And then, but see, Dwayne is so intelligent that he would also send me other authors from other spiritual systems and other ethnic groups. So I was studying, I was still continuing to study everything and not just lock myself in, right? So I big shout out to my older brother too, Dwayne, and my entire family because they supported me the whole while I was in there. And so we came up with KCSSU, Community Cultural Science and System of Unity. My brother sent me a book, How to Put Together a Business Plan. I put together a business plan and everything. And so this was 2009 when I came up with Committed Culture Science System and Unity. I've been studying 2 years. And so, I had a lot of things that, I wanted to do. I saw how many young black men were coming into prison. I'm talking about young, 18, 19, 20, with 20, 25 years, 30 years life sentences. And I said to myself, we have to do something about this because God did not create us for us to get locked up. Like we got an innate gene within us that says that we are criminals. So I knew something was drastically wrong with the system and the institutions in the system, not only locally and nationally, but on a global level. So I said, well, we have to educate the youth so that they don't fall into the traps that's set for us. And, lately I've really been kind of meditating on that, just how sometimes we have to even watch the language that we use when we talk about how we have to use preventive measurements so our children don't fall into the traps that are set. We shouldn't have to have any preventive measurements for somebody to live their life unabated through racism, systemic and institutional or global. So I think sometimes we make the mistake by putting the emphasis on trying to keep our children from going to prison when that shouldn't even be a thought whatsoever. But it's a thought because of a system that has admitted the
Mm-hmm.
institutional and systemic racism. So we have to educate our children on things that are important, like the knowledge of self, understanding our culture, the values that come within our culture, how we interact with one another, how we speak to one another, our expected behavior, roles and responsibilities, boys, girls, men, women. So our thoughts, all of these things are important when we're talking about our culture and talking about our values. Right? So when I saw the young men keep coming in, I said, we got to do something. And January 3rd, 2013, I was released from federal prison, and my father, he picked me up.
So you out. One, how did it feel? I'm big on feelings because
Yes,
to
I
understand the
was, I was,
transition.
I was ecstatic. Me and my wife, we didn't really get back together, but we still, speak every day. Her mother was very sick at the time and pain. So I was ecstatic. She was ecstatic. My family was ecstatic. Was on a mission, right? And it was kind of like I had to go to the halfway house. So, we went to my mother's house. She made me a big breakfast. My sisters were there. My brother, he was still out there in Seattle at the time. He just came home after 29 years. Him and his wife last year. We're glad to have him back. And my children came, Jasmine and Tony. They brought their little sister. Felicia got married again. And some of my good friends came, Frank Hockaday, Rambo, another one of my good friends that we grew up with, Al, little Al. And so it was really beautiful. I had basically got myself in tremendous shape when I was in federal prison because, as that's one of the things that's major. So after I've been studying a while in 2010, I had got to the size where I'm about at now. And remember, I was an athlete growing up. So, I said to myself in 2010 that I got about, 2.5 years ago, I'm going to get myself in shape. So that's what I did. I was walking, running. I ran 14 marathons, lost over 100 pounds, encouraged other brothers to run long distances, 26 miles. And I took because what I would do when I was running was meditate. Right. And, we started off walking 3 laps, 10 laps. Then we started running and we had to work our way up. And I just kept working my way up. And I would meditate because I knew when I got out that it would be a marathon. I've been out now over 11 years. I knew it wasn't going to be a sprint. So when I was running for us as a people, right? Getting in shape, meditating on the steps that I would have to make when I got out of prison. So when I got out, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. And so we had the business plan and everything. I had to go to the halfway house, went to the halfway house. I wasn't there for like 2.5 months. Fortunate, went to my mother's house, right? I was able to focus. It's funny because my sisters that came over there one day and they were kind of attacking me. I need to do this. I need to get a job. And I had just turned 48 years old. And I told them I know what I want to do. I've been preparing myself, and so I got a little upset, walked outside on the porch. But they were just trying to, everybody think that that's what we're supposed to get out and work for people and stuff. We should be happy that we're no longer incarcerated. But I had a plan and a mission. So I started putting together a big, my mother and them wanted to have me a welcome home party. Once I got out the halfway house, we had it. So many people showed up, over 200 something people. And when my mama saw that, she said, I know you can do it now. I'm talking about my organization. So that first summer, I ain't even been home 6 months. We had an event over there in the community that I grew up in, a book bag giveaway. Um, my friend Nate McMillan, he had got a brother I grew up with, played in the NBA and coached in the NBA. He helped us out to get the book bags and everything. And it was an incredible event. So we made a relationship with the community property manager and everything, and they started letting us use their building to educate the community. And so once we started, that's when the organization started. I hadn't even been home 6 months. We had the book bag giveaway. We started having classes on Saturdays, teaching on Maya, divine love, peace, unity, order, balance, harmony, reciprocity, with the foundation and pillars being perfectibility, teachability, free will, divine image, and essentiality of moral social practices, which says that the only good that is done is the good that is done for those who need it. So we teach high values and principles. And it's challenging, because this community I grew up with, is basically what a lot of people like the term is underserved, underrepresented. And I always ask the question, well, who's doing the underserving and underrepresenting? And so, we've been striving, we've accomplished, quite a bit as far as service to the community with our literacy program, where we partner with Shaw University's education department, the amazing Dr. Betty Liverman and Dr. Smith, who do an incredible job with their student teachers who basically are studying to become educators. And I mean, in St. Matthew AME Church, led by the awesome pastor, Reverend Robinson, who has really been very supportive of our organization. Matter of fact, we park our bus there. And that's where we do our literacy program. We've been working with Reverend Robinson in St. Matthew AME for the last 8 years. And so it's just a beautiful relationship with Shaw University, St. Matthew AME, and we've been able to help the students to really understand the fundamentals of reading, literacy, comprehension, phonological awareness, all the different things that are important, because we want the children to be fluent, because when we start teaching them this high science as far as our true culture and who we are as a people, they have to be able to understand the words that they're reading, and we want them to be literate. We just got to make sure that not only is it important for our children and us as a people to read, but for us to make sure that we're reading the right teachings that's going to empower us, instead of studying and learning things that does nothing but increase ignorance, and we don't need that.
So, one, I thank you for all the works that you're doing. I like to thank God that He put you around a group of men who knew how to nurture.
Yes,
Because we are masculine and feminine energy, just like our Creator is.
yes,
And when you get around people who know how to love, as those brothers, as X did, as those brothers in the nation did, as the
yes,
brother who at first withheld the book because he didn't see that you were ready, but
right,
seen it in your eye and was willing to give it
yes,
later on because he
right,
seen that you were ready. We learned how to nurture sudden in prison. We learned how to become comrades, like you and them brothers used to do on the yard, from all different groups of the different trains of thought, but became one community to now build up a community.
right,
I thank you for taking the time and regrouping with yourself and transition to be the person who now helps the community, and not like the the caterpillar you once was that ate up everything and was destructive in the community. You are now the butterfly that you are, who is out flying, flourishing, but also allowing the community to be built back the right way through education, through these things. There are men that are out here doing phenomenal work, and you, brother Asar, is one of them. You're one of the ones that, hey, I know that there's so many out here that's like you, but they don't get seen. So the narrative from the media standpoint is the narrative that we all go back to prison. It's people like yourself who need to be seen, distributed out to the world, so then everybody can know and see that we are out here fighting and revamping what we were and becoming who we are now. This is the reason why I created Forward Progress, because of people like yourself. And
And
I'm
yes,
grateful to have you as a comrade, and
indeed.
X and everybody else God has allowed me to meet. And if you could give a word of wisdom to anybody young or anybody out there, what would it be?
And you know what? That's a beautiful question because, I was invited to an event yesterday, um, by Sister Tanisha with Too Much TV, and she had, us get up there and talk about what we do our organizations, for Black History Month, and I was the first one she asked to speak, and so I spoke on, what we teach and educate the children and community on. Soon as I finished, two young brothers ran up to me, right? And they wanted, to meet me and get my information. They go to Winston-Salem State, right? And they say, man, everything you said, that's what we study. We studying Kemet. We want to know who we are as a people. One of the young brothers was a senior. The other one was a freshman. Then a couple of sisters came up. They went to Winston-Salem too. Right. So I got the brothers' information and they were strong. And one of the brothers got up there and he was speaking. And I mean, the brother, everything he said, he young, 22, was right on point. And the same question was asked to him as far as a word of wisdom. And the young brother said, keep going, right? And I told him, man, that's powerful. Because a lot of times, because of the distractions, we think we don't have time to focus on what's really important, like global Eurasian imperialism and white supremacy, and how it oppresses people, suppresses people, and we never get to really experience who we are as individuals or as a group. And it just damaged so many lives. It damaged so many young African children, African Americans, Black children lives, families. Like the question you asked me as far as the emotion, when they split me and my wife up, right, off of trumped up charges because it wasn't my gun. Those things are done intentionally because what happens is poverty, for one, is $1 billion industry. Prison is $1 billion industry. The school system with the psychotropic drugs and the therapists and counselors, all of that, they basically eat off of the misery of Black people that they create. So my message is to gain as much knowledge as we can of who we are as a people, because old African proverb says, I am because we are, therefore I am. The focus is on the we, to learn who we are as a people and what we have to do to reclaim the throne that we rightfully belong on so that we can, in a sense, dethrone Eurasian imperialism and global white supremacy.
Look, brother Asar, taking the time and spending time with me, because you're a very busy man and you got things you got to do. So thank you once again. And for all y'all who are watching, look, please tap in with him. He's doing phenomenal work. I ask if you can support what he does, because he's a phenomenal man doing phenomenal work in our phenomenal community. Look, I love each and every one of y'all. Appreciate you. This is Forward Progress. His name is Mr. Brother, or I'm gonna say Brother Asar, Kevin Bobbitt.
Yes.
My name is Carlos Walker, and this is Forward Progress. Thank y'all.
Peace.
Hold on.